Imagine discovering that the serial killer terrorizing your city is someone you know. Now imagine deciding not to call the police. Instead, you decide to start a podcast with him. That is exactly the insane situation at the center of Peacock's dark comedy thriller based on a true story. The story follows Ava and Nathan Bartlett, a married couple living in Los Angeles. From the outside, they look like a normal couple preparing for their first baby, but behind closed doors, their life is falling apart. Ava is a real estate agent. Nathan is a former tennis prodigy who once dreamed of becoming a professional player, but a knee injury ended his career before it truly began. Now he works as a tennis coach, and even that job is slipping away from him. Their finances are getting worse. Their marriage is losing its spark, and with a baby on the way, the pressure is becoming impossible to ignore. Then one day, Nathan loses his job. At almost the exact same time, Ava's big real estate deal collapses. Suddenly, the couple is staring at financial disaster, and that's when something strange happens. Their toilet breaks. Normally, a broken toilet would be the least of their problems, but for Ava and Nathan, it introduces the most dangerous person they will ever meet, a plumber named Matt. Matt seems completely normal. He is friendly, he loves tennis, he has a son. He even recognizes Nathan as the tennis player he once was. But there is something unusual about him, something Ava and Nathan don't notice at first. Matt has a dark secret, a secret that will soon change their lives forever. Meanwhile, Los Angeles is terrorized by a mysterious killer known as the Westside Ripper. The killer has been murdering women, and nobody knows who he is. Ava, however, is fascinated by the case. She is completely obsessed with true crime. She listens to podcasts, she discusses famous killers with her friends, she analyzes murders like other people discuss sports or movies. To Ava, true crime is entertainment. But one night, she realizes something terrifying. The Westside Ripper might be much closer to her than anyone realizes. A young woman named Chloe Lake is murdered, and Ava notices that Nathan may have crossed paths with her shortly before her death. Nathan insists that nothing happened, but Ava starts digging. She checks his laptop, she looks at Chloe's social media, and then she notices something else. Matt, the plumber, the man who recently worked inside their home, the man with strange scratches on his arms, the man who previously lived in Pomona, where another one had been attacked. The clues begin to pile up, and suddenly Ava and Nathan start wondering if the man fixing their pipes could actually be the Westside Ripper. At this point, the sensible thing would be simple. Call the police, tell them everything. But Ava has another idea, and this idea is about to destroy their lives. Ava believes that instead of reporting Matt, they should make a podcast with him. Think about that for a moment. They suspect a man is a serial killer, and their first thought is not, we need to stop him. Their first thought is, how much money could we make from this? Ava believes the podcast could solve all their problems. They could become famous, they could make millions, they could save their marriage, and maybe, just maybe, they could convince Matt to stop killing. Nathan is horrified, but he is also desperate, so he agrees. Nathan approaches Matt on a beach and makes him an offer. He doesn't directly say, we know you're the Westside Ripper. Instead, he carefully explains that he knows who Matt really is, and that they could help him tell his story. Matt listens. Then he walks into the ocean. He gives Nathan no answer. Nathan returns home completely defeated. He believes the plan has failed. But Ava refuses to give up. And then Matt shows up at their house. At first, he pretends to be there because of a plumbing problem, but then he drops the act. Matt already knows everything. He knows Ava was behind the plan, he knows Nathan was trying to blackmail him, and most importantly, he knows exactly how much power he has over them. But instead of killing them, Matt agrees to participate. There is only one problem. Matt doesn't want to be treated like a guest on the podcast. He wants control. He understands sound, he understands storytelling, he knows that every word will be analyzed, every background noise will be examined, and he even tells Ava and Nathan that their recording location is terrible because he can hear the railway tracks outside. Matt is not just willing to participate, he is already thinking like a producer, and that should terrify them, because Ava and Nathan believe they are using Matt, but the truth is, Matt may be using them. They eventually find a new recording location, a massive, luxurious house where Matt once worked. Matt brings professional equipment, he develops his own ideas, and then he gives the podcast its name, based on a true story. During their first recording session, Matt reveals something horrifying. He has killed more than 20 women. He describes his first murder. He talks about killing as if he is discussing a hobby. Ava and Nathan are shaken, but they keep recording. And that's the moment the couple crosses a line. They are no longer simply investigating a killer, they are now working with one. The podcast launches, but there is a problem. The first episode performs terribly. Only a small number of people listen. Meanwhile, another popular podcast called Sisters in Crime is covering the same killer. Ava becomes desperate. She wants their podcast to succeed, and Matt has his own ideas about how to make that happen. Soon the trio travels to CrimeCon in Las Vegas, and what happens there changes everything. Because at the convention, Matt comes face to face with the one person who claims to have survived the Westside Ripper, and no one expects what happens next. CrimeCon is supposed to be a celebration of true crime, but to Matt, it feels more like a convention dedicated to his own legend. There are fans, books, merchandise, podcasts, and people discussing the Westside Ripper as if he were a celebrity. Ava and Nathan are there to promote their struggling podcast. Matt is there for something else. He wants to see the person who claims to have escaped him. Her name is Dahlia Stone. Dahlia has written a book about surviving the Westside Ripper. She tells the audience that she fought back. She even claims she kicked him and screamed, "Not today." The audience loves her story, but Matt is furious. He knows she is lying. According to Matt, Dahlia was never attacked by him, and he cannot stand the idea that someone else is profiting from his crimes. To Matt, Dahlia is damaging his brand. She is making the Westside Ripper look weak, and Matt is obsessed with his image. Meanwhile, Ava and Nathan are trying to enjoy the convention. Their marriage has been under pressure for a long time, so they decide to pretend they are young and carefree again. They drink, they party, and the night becomes increasingly chaotic. Ava even begins fantasizing about other men. The show repeatedly blurs the line between reality and fantasy. Characters imagine themselves in bizarre situations. People suddenly kiss, people suddenly die, and then the story cuts back to reality. But when it comes to Matt, the fantasy is never completely separate from reality, because Matt really is a killer, and Dahlia is about to discover that. After the convention, Matt follows her. He approaches her like an ordinary fan, but eventually he tells her the truth. He knows she is lying, and then he reveals who he really is, the Westside Ripper. Dahlia immediately panics. Matt tells her that he knows everything about her. He knows she is using the story to make money. He knows her charity work is not as noble as she claims, and then he walks away. Moments later, Dahlia falls from the roof. She dies in front of Ava, Nathan, and their friends. The question is obvious. Did Matt push her, or did Dahlia jump? Ava immediately believes Matt killed her. She wants to leave Los Angeles. She wants to go to the police. But Nathan is terrified. They have already lied to the police. They have already created an alibi for Matt. If they suddenly run away, they will look guilty. Matt agrees. He tells them to act normally. And this is the moment when Ava and Nathan begin to realize something terrifying. They are not in control anymore. Matt is. At CrimeCon, Matt also meets a television writer named Susie. She tells him that she is researching a show about serial killers. At first, Matt is fascinated by her. He likes the way she talks about storytelling. He likes the idea of constantly creating fresh content. But when Susie makes it clear that she is disgusted by him, Matt's mood changes. Matt cannot handle rejection, and when his ego is attacked, something dangerous happens. He follows Susie into the bathroom. Then the show cuts into one of Matt's disturbing fantasies. He imagines killing her. He imagines killing everyone around him. The scene becomes a bizarre nightmare of violence. But it is only a fantasy, for now. Meanwhile, Ava and Nathan's marriage briefly begins to heal. They reconnect. They rediscover the passion that had disappeared from their relationship. Ironically, the thing bringing them closer together is the very thing destroying their morality. Their podcast begins to grow, but Matt wants more. He doesn't want to discuss old murders forever. He wants fresh content. And for Matt, fresh content means only one thing: another murder. Ava and Nathan tell him no. They remind them of their agreement, no more killing. But Matt is starting to miss it, and that makes him increasingly dangerous. Then something unexpected happens. Ruby, Ava's best friend, discovers the burner phone. She sees the messages. She becomes suspicious. And then she makes a phone call. Matt answers. Ruby sees him pick up, and suddenly she knows the truth. Matt is the Westside Ripper. Ruby confronts Ava. Ava tries to lie, but eventually she admits the truth. Ruby is shocked. She cannot believe Ava and Nathan would actually work with a real serial killer. But Ava tells her the podcast is fake. She claims Matt is only pretending to be the Westside Ripper. Ruby believes them, or at least she pretends to. But now she wants something. She wants to join the podcast. Ava refuses, and that decision is about to cost Ruby her life. At the same time, the podcast suddenly becomes a massive success. The trio begins receiving million-dollar offers. For the first time, Ava and Nathan believe their financial problems may be over, but success comes with a price, and Matt wants to collect. The podcast audience begins demanding new material, fresh stories, fresh murders, and Matt is listening. Then Jessica Alba publicly criticizes the podcast. The backlash is immediate. Their deals collapse. Their entire business disappears almost overnight. So Ava and Nathan come up with a new plan, a subscription service. Fans will pay monthly for exclusive access to the Westside Ripper. Matt loves the idea, but he wants something extra, premium content, something only subscribers can receive, something that will make people keep paying. And then Matt says the words Ava and Nathan have been dreading. He wants to kill again. The couple refuses, but Matt has already made up his mind, and his next victim will be someone very close to them.
Ava and Nathan are finally starting to taste success. Their podcast is becoming popular, money is coming in, and for the first time, they believe their financial problems might actually be over. But there is one major problem. Matt wants to kill again. The audience wants fresh content, and Matt is starting to miss the thrill of murder. Ava and Nathan keep reminding him of their one rule, no more killing, but Matt is becoming harder to control. And then Ruby discovers the truth. She finds Ava's burner phone and sees the messages between her and Matt. Suspicious, Ruby calls the number. Matt answers, and in that instant, Ruby realizes the horrifying truth. Matt is the Westside Ripper. Ruby confronts Ava. At first, Ava tries to lie, but eventually she admits everything. Ruby promises to keep their secret, but she wants something in return. She wants to join the podcast. Ava refuses, and that decision changes everything. Soon, the podcast suffers a massive public backlash. Their deals disappear. Their future looks ruined. So the trio creates a new plan, a subscription service where fans can pay for exclusive access to the Westside Ripper. But Matt wants to give the audience something they cannot get anywhere else, fresh content. And for Matt, fresh content means murder. Then one night, Ava and Nathan arrive at their dream beach house. But instead of a peaceful escape, Ava opens the door and finds Ruby's bloodied body. A blue dart is lodged in her neck. Matt has killed again. The couple immediately calls him. Matt calmly explains that Ruby was going to the police. Ava and Nathan don't believe him. They demand that he help clean up. But Matt refuses. He tells them they must handle the mess themselves. And that is the moment they realize something terrifying. They are no longer controlling Matt. Matt is controlling them. The couple loads Ruby's body into their car. But when they return home, they find a party waiting for them. Ava and Nathan are supposed to be celebrating their anniversary, and the person who helped organize the party is none other than Matt. Even worse, Ava's sister Tori is there, because Matt has secretly been having an affair with her. And then Simon, Ruby's husband, arrives. He wants to apologize to Nathan for killing McEnroe, the dog Nathan loved. But while they are talking, Ruby's phone suddenly starts ringing, inside the car trunk. Simon hears it, and now the entire secret could be exposed. Nathan manages to distract him, but the danger is far from over. Ava and Nathan unlock Ruby's phone and discover a voicemail she sent to Detective Burrell. Ruby really was planning to expose the Westside Ripper. Matt was telling the truth. But now there is another problem. Simon knows something is wrong, and Matt warns Ava and Nathan that if Simon becomes a threat, they may have to deal with him too. In other words, they may have to kill again. The couple loads Ruby's body into the Beverly Club and buries her beneath the tennis court. As Nathan digs the grave, he and Ava talk about their unborn child. For a moment, they reconnect, but then Ava notices something strange. The blue dart is missing from Ruby's neck. Suddenly, Ruby rises from the grave and attacks them. Ava and Nathan scream, and then they wake up. It was another disturbing dream. But the dream reveals something important. The couple is no longer simply afraid of murder. They are beginning to imagine it. And that is when the real transformation begins. After burying Ruby, Ava and Nathan return to the house and clean every trace of blood. They scrub the floors, they erase the evidence, and they continue discussing their future and their baby as if everything is normal. Then, just as they think they are safe, the door opens. Simon walks in. He looks at them and smiles. And suddenly, the question is no longer whether Ava and Nathan can escape Matt. The real question is, can they escape the people they have become? So what does the ending of Based on a True Story really mean? The biggest twist is that Ava and Nathan began the story believing they could control the situation. They thought they were smarter than Matt. They thought they could use him.
They thought they could turn his crimes into a successful podcast. And maybe, at the beginning, they even believed they were doing something good. They wanted Matt to stop killing. But gradually, the motivation changed. First, they wanted money. Then they wanted success. Then they wanted fame. And eventually, they began protecting the killer. The moment Ruby is murdered, there is no going back. Before Ruby's death, Ava and Nathan could still pretend they were victims. After Ruby's death, they are accomplices. They helped hide the body, they destroyed evidence, they lied to the police, and they continued working with Matt. The podcast has transformed them. That is the real meaning of the season. The show is not simply asking whether true crime is bad. It is asking what happens when the audience becomes more interested in the killer than the victims. Matt is the perfect example. He is a murderer, but the podcast turns him into a personality. He becomes interesting. He becomes entertaining. People want to hear him speak. They want to understand his mind. And Matt loves it. For the first time, he can be himself. He no longer has to hide. The podcast gives him an audience. It gives him attention. And most importantly, it gives him a reason to kill again. Because now, every murder can become content. That is why Matt says the situation will never end. The podcast has created a monster that cannot be satisfied. The more successful it becomes, the more Matt wants. And the more Ava and Nathan depend on that success, the deeper they become trapped. Then there is Simon. Simon is the biggest cliffhanger of the season. He was already connected to the couple. He was Ruby's husband. He knew Ava and Nathan. He had already killed their dog, McEnroe. And now he has walked directly into the house where Ruby was murdered. But how did he find them? Did he track Ruby's final movements? Did he already suspect Ava and Nathan? Did he know about the Malibu house? Or does Simon have his own secrets? The ending leaves all of these questions unanswered. But one thing is clear. Simon is now a serious threat. And possibly a future member of the podcast's deadly inner circle. The finale also reveals the true tragedy of Ava and Nathan's relationship. They were already unhappy before Matt entered their lives. Their marriage was struggling. Nathan felt like a failure. Ava felt like she was carrying the entire family. They were both desperate for something to change. And the podcast gave them exactly what they wanted. Money, excitement, attention, and a reason to feel alive again. But they had to pay for it. Their marriage is stronger in some ways, but their morality is disappearing. They are closer than ever, because now they share a secret that could destroy both of them. And that is what makes the story so dark. The podcast saved their marriage, but it may have destroyed their souls. By the end of season 1, Ava and Nathan are no longer ordinary people who accidentally became involved with a serial killer. They have become part of the machine. They are producing the story, they are hiding the bodies, and they are helping the killer build his brand. Meanwhile, Matt has everything he ever wanted. An audience, a platform, a chance to speak openly about his crimes, and people willing to protect him. The season ends with the perfect question. How far will Ava and Nathan go to protect the podcast? Because once you have already helped hide one murder, what stops you from hiding another, and another, and another? That is the terrifying idea at the heart of Based on a True Story. The story begins with a couple trying to save their marriage and make some money, but by the end, they are cleaning blood from the floor while discussing baby names, and somewhere in Los Angeles, a serial killer is already thinking about his next episode, because in this world, the murder is not the end of the story, it's the content, and the audience is always waiting for more. If you enjoyed this full breakdown of Based on a True Story Season 1, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Ava and Nathan are victims? Or are they just as guilty as Matt? And what do you think Simon knows?